Do you have a full understanding of your people, of how your culture affects your bottom line and of how to improve it? Regularly, we know the value of our computers and we track their depreciation. We have detailed financial forecasts, but mostly we have no idea why our people are our greatest asset. We certainly don't track what makes them the greatest asset, and consequently many of us do not know how best to nurture our people so that they become ambassadors who manifest our brand. Often in business, we talk about culture. We know it has something to do with behaviours and values and that it dramatically affects the bottom line, but often in the boardroom it's ignored because it is difficult to measure and make sense of. We may spend large sums of money telling everyone what our brand is, but unless our people live the brand, unless the company lives the brand, this is money wasted. Customers decide what the brand stands for based on how the people in the company behave and make decisions. Thus, our people and our culture are our greatest asset. So how do we understand our people, their behaviours and our culture? How do we measure and track change? How do we know if and how this affects the bottom line? BluPrints defines, measures and tracks the drivers for change and influences improvement. It makes it possible to get a handle on culture and understand what it is, how it's affecting the bottom line and how to improve it. Everyone in the business affects the bottom line through the culture. Thus we involve everyone in the business in defining, owning, developing, measuring and tracking change. BluPrints involves all your people in crowdsourcing the problem and crowdsourcing the solution. You have a vision for your business. You know where it needs to go. But do you know for sure that everyone in the business understands it, believes in it and lives it? How do you find out? BluPrints answers that question. BluPrints asks everyone in the business a simple question. In order to achieve the vision and be the best place to work, what do we all together need to do more of and less of? BluPrints enables you to discover the factors, behaviours, practices and principles that lead towards your vision and the factors, behaviours, practices and principles that block you from reaching your vision. These can be coded into a measurable formula that enables your people to build the vision and turn it into reality. We ask everyone in the business, from the CEO to the cleaner, what they and we need to do more of in order to reach the vision and what they and we need to stamp out or do less of in order to reach the vision. There are no prompts and no right or wrong answers. People simply tell us in their own words. During this process, confidentiality is paramount, so that people say what they think in their own words and their own language. However, we craft the questions in context of desired business outcomes so that we crowdsource from across the business those factors, behaviours, practices and principles that are good for business and those that are evident in the business but are bad for business. This gives us a mass of information from right across the business at every level. It ensures we miss nothing and it involves and includes everyone. We then crunch all of this data into common themes. We generally find we get about 40 to 50 thematic groups above the dividing line. That's things we should do more of. We call these enablers. And about the same number below the dividing line. That's things we should stamp out or do less of. We call these disablers. We take these themes back to your people and ask them to vote for the top 20. That is, the top 20 themes they deem to be most important. This voting gets people to really focus on what is important. We keep the top 20 enabling themes and the top 20 disabling themes, and we discard the rest. A second round of voting reveals the 10 most important enablers and the 10 most important disablers. Through the voting, we are distilling out those things with the greatest leverage if we focus on them. Whilst the voting enables everyone in the business to focus on what factors, behaviours, practices and principles are most important, we also need to ensure alignment with the business plan and the business direction. So we ask a control group, usually 30 or 40 people, chosen from across the business, to rank the top 5. The combination of votes and ranking gives us a way of weighting the agreed themes in favour of those deemed to be most important. Now we can build the formula. Which may look something like this. If you look at those factors above the line, the enabling factors, the enabling factor here exceeds delivery expectations is cubed. Clearly, it was ranked as highly important, as was the disabling factor arrogant and complacent, also cubed. This tells us a lot, but as you will know if ever you have tried to embed a long list of values into a company, lists of phrases are difficult to remember. We really need to make this come alive. Research shows that 89% of what we learn visually. So the next phase in building your formula is to ask your people for ideas of pictures or visual representations of each of those phrases. We call these icons. The icons have the effect of engaging the emotional part of the brain, and this brings the phrase alive and also helps us to remember it because it engages the emotional part of the brain and puts feeling into the words. And when we put feeling into the words through images, it creates what the psychologists call an anchoring bias that makes change more likely. The icon can be a ceramic model, as in the previous ones, or a picture in a frame or a photograph. It can be anything that fits your needs. It does need to fit with the culture of your business, though. The BluPrints team are very experienced in creating these items and will work with you to decide on the right icons and the right style and developed in the right media. This one, for instance, with the man in a suit and bowler hat and a less ornate picture frame, is a different, more formal style from the previous picture of gifted people. And this one, tolerating dead wood, is different again. We take the phrase, in this case 9 to 5 mentality, and the icon, and we add to them a greater explanation using the factors, behaviours, practices and principles that your people first came up with, so that we form a Pictionary. You see that this 9 to 5 mentality came from the need to reduce clock watching, reduce being driven by the clock, not results, reduce treating this as just a job, and not being fully there and leaving before the work is done. All talk and no action came from failure to deliver, paying lip service, lack of implementation and follow-through, admiring the problem, and overpromise and underdeliver. This is a nice example of the icon's need to respect the culture. This is from Deloitte in South Africa and is a large ceramic model. The originals of these models are in Deloitte head office in Johannesburg, but you see these are rugby players, and rugby is a game of national importance in South Africa. These two, instead of passing a ball, are passing a small South African animal, a roebuck, passing the buck, the third descriptor in the list. This is a different style again. This company was a construction company and many of their employees were on site for most of the time. They used pictures in a durable pocket-sized booklet that could be carried about with them. And the pictures reflected their work. Every 3 months, we ask everyone in the company to score each icon. This, like the rest of the process, can be done paper-based or online. This is a screenshot from the online process. The icon is outsource. And on the right-hand side, it states the theme, and underneath that, the descriptive phases appear as the Pictionary. This one says, careful selection of partners, leaving non-core capabilities to the specialists, making sure that the partner wins, proper alignment and upfront clarification on expectations, and stay virtual. All your people are asked to score the icon as always happens, sometimes happens, or never happens in the company. This enables us to score with a number 1, 2 or 3 to each icon, and the average of all these scores gives us the score for that icon. We also ask you to write in the blank space that you can see on the page, answering the question, what would you do to improve this? You can write as much or as little as you want. There is a scroll bar on the side of the box. That gives us a score for each icon, and the scores for each icon go into the formula, giving us an indices where in the formula here it says U. The indices show your overall score as people have rated the icons each quarter. This enables us to report back to you how you are doing. We report back the scores as weighted and unweighted. This is an example of Q1, Q2 and Q3 of a report of the weighted and unweighted scores. As the weighted scores represent the control group's input of what is most vital given the company direction, it's important that these scores are higher than the unweighted scores. The report also tells you the score for each icon. You can see that in this example, innovation and creativity scored well and are surrounded in blue, whereas can-do attitude and motivated employees and job satisfaction are areas requiring immediate action and are circled in red. These are the bottom line scores for the icons. These are the things we need to do less of or stamp out altogether. And you can see the ones requiring immediate attention are inconsistency and unproductive meetings. This slide shows the Q1, Q2 and Q3 for each of the enablers. You can see that innovation and creativity scored much better in Q3, whereas having the right tools and resources and motivated employees and job satisfaction both became worse in Q3. Even though honesty and openness improved and inspiring leadership improved, it would be interesting to find out what is happening here. And on the disabler scores, where 1 is good and 3 is bad, rumours and backstabbing, unconducive working environment, unproductive meetings, us and them, and wrong people for the job have all improved by Q3. We break these reports down into demographics, and we also give you the underlying reports from the question, what would you do to improve this? These reports give you a great deal of information so that you can not only measure and track what is happening at a behavioural and cultural level in your business, but you are also crowdsourcing ideas of how to improve. The formula is your own, built by your people in response to the question of how to reach your vision, and so each formula is unique. This is what Herbert Voss of GlaxoSmithKline said. What a powerful process. It urges the entire organisation to continuously refocus on the fundamental success drivers whilst also providing an ideal tool to identify and minimise the hurdles and blockers to success. As a major element, it involves all employees, makes them real and accountable owners of the business. Since the start of the project, we have seen a stepped-up change in culture and team spirit. In essence, BluPrints at GSK is the mirror of how we are doing, challenging sometimes, but exciting, inspiring, and delivering. Deloitte in South Africa now use their blueprint as the basis of their induction program, and in partnership with BluPrints offer the process to their clients. They are tracking the clients who implement Blueprint against their place in their Best Company to Work For survey. The results are looking very good. FedEx in Asia was so impressed that they have now rolled out blueprints across the whole of China, spanning 5 different time zones. This demonstrates how well Blueprint crosses cultures and time zones. You can contact me, Fiona Hayes, at fiona@blueprints.com. Don't forget the hyphen between blue and prints. Or on +44 7590 425 621.